CTV. It is Good Morning Uganda Extra on this 14th day of February in this year 2022. Now this day is called Valentine's Day, and well, I do not know what Valentine's means, and because when I just came in studios here, somebody told me you've not put on like it's Valentine's. When I was leaving home, I was coming to do a program on Good Morning Uganda Extra, not anything called Valentine's or whatever that means. Ruben Impi Machibirango will help us understand that. Welcome, and thank you so much for choosing to be with us here again on our last segment of Good Morning Uganda. Yet today. Now we'll just get straight into the issues, and today we'll be talking about science, technology and innovations, and joining me in studios is the Minister for Science, Technology and Innovations, Office of the President, the Honorable Dr. Monica Masanza Musenero. You're very welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers.
Thank you very much. Happy to have you, Dr. Triple M. And of course, together with Dr. Monica Musenero is Brenda Nakaziwe. She's the programs coordinator for the presidential initiative, initiative, I think, on science and diseases, or Preside. It's actually called Preside. She will tell us what it is. You're welcome, Brenda.
Thank you so much. Good morning, viewers.
Happy to have both of you. Thank you so much for joining me. Honorable Minister, very welcome. Let's start with your ministry. To start with, the STI Office of the President used to be called MOST. What's the difference? What has changed from the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovations now to STIOP?
Thank you very much. You know, the government operates under different structures. Now, the most standard and mature form is a ministry that stands on its own. Okay. It is standing, it has a minister, it has a permanent secretary, it has a public service structure. So Uganda did not have this ministry until 2016, and in 2016 the president established this ministry. However, by early 2021 he felt that he needed to put the functions of science, technology and innovation first directly under himself. It needed a bit more nurturing, so that the country understands what science, technology and innovation should be doing. And so he closed that ministry and put these functions under a secretariat at Office of the President. So it's now Science, Technology and Innovation at Office of the President. It is operates slightly different, not in a typical public service mode. Okay. Yeah. So it operates slightly different, more business-like. Okay. More.
So what happens to all the other agencies that were under the other ministry? PBID, URI, we had Kira Motors, etc.
Now under there were different agencies, and there are different types. Sure. The first one are agencies formed by Act of Parliament. Okay. Statutory. So we have the statutory agencies. We have the National Council of Science, Technology and Uganda Industrial Research Institute, which had been moved. Those have moved with us. Okay. They continue to do their functions. They're still under my jurisdiction. And then we have corporations. Corporations are business entities. Out of science and technology, we expect that we'll have products that will end up being companies and create businesses, and that is how it generates development. So we have corporations. We have one fully formed one, which is Kira Motors. So it continues to operate as a company, fully owned by government, but it operates as an entity, still under my supervision. Okay. And then we have one which is still in the forming. It has fulfilled certain things. We are still fulfilling certain things. That is called BADIC. That's the one supposed to replace the presidential initiative on banana, PBID. PBID. Yeah, so PBID is transitioning into, so we're supposed to nurture those. They become fully-fledged businesses, and they should be making for the money for the country. So those are still with us. Okay. Yeah, they're still under my
Well, that's a very good history and background, of course, of what the ministry looks like and what you're doing there. Let me first get to Brenda here to talk about Preside. Brenda, you are the programs coordinator for Preside, and Preside is also a new initiative, I think. We basically and much heard about it during the past 2 years where we had the pandemic here. I don't know how long it's been here, but let's talk about what you're doing at Preside.
Thank you so much. Once again, good morning, viewers. Preside, indeed, is the Presidential Scientific Initiative on Epidemics. Following the very good and visionary leadership of His Excellency, the President, in the advent of COVID in 2020, when the world was tucked away, the world was scared, like we all were, of this pandemic. We saw what it was doing in the Western world and other countries. His Excellency birthed and gave a directive to form Preside, not just for it to be another initiative, presidential initiative, but to actually form a platform to create local response tools to the pandemic. Now, for any pandemic or any disease outbreak, for example, Uganda has had over 200 epidemics, breaking out. Now, this is a pandemic in its magnitude. And we saw what happened. I'm personally a frontliner, like the Honorable Minister here, going out to Ebola, anthrax, cholera, and now COVID. But response tools like diagnostics, testing for COVID, PPE, the masks like you see us wearing, sanitizer, then vaccines. You've seen and known Uganda's vaccine story. We've had to wait in the queues. We have the money to purchase, to procure, but the vaccines are all taken up ahead of time by many countries. And then therapeutics for any disease. Of course, vaccines are the most sure way to prevent disease in addition to health or behavior change. And then talk about therapeutics. Those are drugs, medicines, and then diagnostics. We need to test and know exactly what we are treating. So, Preside was formed to get us those local response tools. For many epidemics, disease outbreaks, we've literally purchased everything. But in the event now that we had the pandemic, countries were scampering for the little that is everywhere. So countries that had made their own local response tools made the kill.
Sure.
So Uganda now also had to come in aggressively to save its people, and lo and behold, Preside was birthed in March 2020. So we have teams of scientists working on vaccines, teams of scientists working on therapeutics, teams of scientists working on diagnostics. So that's what Preside is here to do.
Okay.
And not only for COVID, but many pathogens which are disease-causing organisms.
I think now that's very important. Now you bring in something very new, which is called pathogens, and I think that to me is also very good. And I would love Dr. Msero to just talk about it. Now we know that in the wake of COVID-19, that has also introduced us to something new that's called the pathogen economy. And now we'll talk about the pathogen, and of course, we know that now that is one of the next drivers of our world economy.
Oh, yes.
Now, just because of that, we in this race, also like you say, not to scamper, not to, His Excellency has always said, we don't have to sit like, I think he calls us maggots or cockroach maggots, I think. Yes, just waiting to be seen. So we shouldn't sit as maggots. So, and in the wake of the pathogen economy, which we are racing to also getting there, we heard that we are also developing our own vaccine.
Yes.
The president spoke to us and said he had gotten a name for that, but of course he opened it to the public to also find a name that we can use to give our own. Actually, somebody visited me. He's a minister. He's a prisons minister. He does ministry in prisons, and he came with a name, suggesting a name, which I'll share with you much later. Of course, out of here. But we just a few days ago. Let me see. My producer gave me that screenshot of Dr. Elioda, who actually said a few days ago that our scientists actually duped the president into making a vaccine which we don't seem to even have the capacity to do. And some of us have been having these high spirits of one day we will have them. Now, Ugandan scientist Dr. Museveni on COVID vaccine, that's former minister, Dr. Elioda, who was where you are, in a way. So, with all our hopes that we are developing a vaccine. Now, I want you, Honorable Minister, to get us to the details of this. And secondly, we also had a discussion and conversation of an 8 million mice, or mice or rats or whatever, and everybody is saying we have rats that we just kill here, and Dr. Museveni is buying rats this expensively. Why don't you buy them from us and make us rich? You know, let's get to the pathogen economy that you must be driving now.
Thank you very much. Let me take this opportunity really to give some explanations.
Sure.
First, let me begin with the pathogen. What's a pathogen? A pathogen is an organism, usually small organisms, that make us sick, or make our animals sick, or make our plants sick. Anything that causes damage to another is called a pathogen. Yeah, the small one. Pathogen economy, what is that? Which is a terminology which has just appeared. It actually emerged from Uganda. It's not anywhere. It emerged from here. We are the ones who have donated it to the world.
Is that so? Yes. We've donated that whole concept to the world?
Yes.
The terminology to the world?
Yes. And that is credit to Preside. So that terminology came because, like many other developing countries, we have had this belief that we cannot do things. And so we positioned ourselves to be markets and of everything. And the way we structured our science was consumptive. We consume science. So I come here, I train you as a doctor, but really you become a marketeer for my drugs. Because when you prescribe prednisolone is not made here, you buy mine. When you prescribe everything that you prescribe. And so we went on for long like that. And as we have continued to develop, we have continued to become more and more dependent. So the president came up when COVID came and said, up to when are we going to go on with this? And he has said it, he has told the World Health Organization, he has said, no, Africans cannot just sit around.
And wait. To be supplied.
So pathogen economy is taking pathogens and looking at them from the other side. Uganda is one of the most pathogen-rich countries. We have so many pathogens by nature of where we are. We always joke that we are gifted by nature, including pathogens. So we are in that part of the world. However, we don't make any money from these things. There are so many diseases named all over the world after us. Zika is a forest here. West Nile is here. Chikungunya. These are diseases coming from here. But we have always looked at them to scare us. Oh, Ebola is going to kill you. But somebody who doesn't come from an area with Ebola virus is making for you the medicine, is making for you the vaccine, is making for you the diagnostic. So pathogen economy is now saying, you know, yes, we have these problems, but we are also going to look at them as raw materials. And we are going to add value to them, and we are going to make money from them. So if Ebola is disturbing us, why don't we make the Ebola vaccine? So that as we sell the Ebola vaccine, we have money to respond to Ebola. So the pathogen economy is now us, the making, producing and selling of commodities that are meant to prevent, treat, or mitigate the damage due to pathogens. That's the pathogen economy. We have the standardized definition. And when when the president heard about this, he was excited. He developed it himself to further and made it, even gave us more.
And eventually donated it to the world. I think that's
yes, he has donated it to the world. And so now coming to the issue that Honorable Yoda mentioned. First of all, I don't like criticizing or talking to people. But with all due respect, I have to make this correction. One, we were with Honorable Yoda at the founding of Preside. We were together. He sat with us. I sat with him in his office. We discussed the concept together.
He was still minister then?
He was the minister. He was my minister.
He was your minister?
He was my minister.
Sure.
And we wrote everything. He approved. He actually sourced money, the first money in the financial year 2019-2020, before we went into 2020-21. He went to finance and identified some money which they hadn't received, and bought the first set of equipments, and those equipment were for vaccines.
Okay.
So I wouldn't expect...
That was pre-COVID?
No, during COVID.
During COVID?
Yeah,
okay.
2020.
Oh, 2019,
yes,
2020. We are in 2020 now.
Yes, and when we came up with the proposals, the president assigned him to work with me. We came up with the proposals. He actually went and defended the supplementary in Parliament. He went and defended the supplementary in Parliament.
And he proved to parliamentarians that you needed this money.
Yes, that we need this money
to
and
do these
the
things.
Projects were already there written before him. He actually, in his ministerial statement for 2021-2022, he writes very, very nicely about this. I don't know, he was our chief scientist. So if anybody duped the president, then we are together. But then we are together in it. But I want to assure Ugandans that we have the capacity. Yes, we did not have it. Yes, we took a step of courage. Just because you've never built a house, it doesn't mean you'll be condemned to never build a house. Uganda has taken one of the most courageous steps. We are the only country on this continent that has taken this step. Last week we had visitors from UAE. They are coming to help us now to move the vaccines to the next level. Okay. We'll be explaining to you where we have reached.
Exactly, because I'm very interested.
Yes, and this gentleman was so amazed that a country like Uganda...
The visitor from UAE?
Yes, from UAE. He was so amazed. He said, I've moved in over so many countries. I have not seen any country which has taken this kind of courageous step. So I want to assure Ugandans, although we had not worked purposefully, specifically on vaccines, we have scientists who have been working with others in consortia all over the world. It is true we did not have some equipment, and Honorable Yoda knows that because we sat with him, we looked at issues of equipment. He provided the first batch of 5 billion to purchase equipment, so he knows. And he's a part of the ministry.
He's been part of the struggle.
He has been part of the struggle. So I want to recognize him as part of this success which is coming. I don't want him to be alienated from it, because if it wasn't him at that time, we would not have made. When we launched Preside, he was there. When we launched equipment given to different, he was there. He defended the budget for Preside for this financial year which we are running, and I want him to be part of it. So maybe after not being in office for a while, you may forget. But otherwise, the vaccine work is continuing. It is moving. It is, for me, every time I listen to my scientists, I am so heartwarmed.
Dr. Msenero, assure the public, do we have capacity to produce and to make a vaccine? You know, when we listen to the world, or when we see what is coming from the world, J&J, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Sinovac, Sinopharm, we're now used to these things. Name them. Many people doubt that Ugandans can actually bring their own vaccine onto the market. And we have JJ there, we have Narubare here, then we have AstraZeneca here, and all the things. Number two, it also causes or brings in issues of when we have our own scientists who want to do something possibly that threatens the world, then they become very insecure. We start fearing for them that maybe the world will actually eliminate them or do all the things to them, because we cannot see a country like Uganda develop such a thing that will go out to the world. So something will happen, and you possibly tend to run away from that. Assure us that we can actually produce a vaccine.
Let me begin it this way. Those countries which are producing vaccines now, they were not born producing vaccine.
Sure.
They were like Uganda. At one point, they made a decision, and they decided to invest. They decided to build that capacity, and now they are vaccine manufacturing countries. the issue of market. You see, before COVID came, nobody even gave a chance to an African country. We had a few small units in North Africa, which were really outfits of the Pasteur Institute, a French company. And even Africa itself just sat there waiting. Others work for us. After all, we don't have capacity.
That's true. You know? That's true.
But when COVID came, and even with the president, our president has played a big part, because he stood up in defiance and said, no, we cannot do this. And now all of Africa has woken up. African Union, Africa CDC, they woke up. And now there is an initiative to support African countries to become vaccine research, development, and manufacturing countries. The aim is to have Africa produce at least 60% of our own vaccines by 2030. So there is an active drive. There is an active drive. It's just that in most countries, we are starting mostly from what we call fill and finish. So we are getting technology from elsewhere only, and then starting here. Now Uganda, we are starting from both. We are developing the research and development capacity, and we have done wonderfully.
Okay.
Even we have multiplied now people who can do vaccine, who understand that research and development. We have multiplied them so fast. And then now we are going to the production. So of course we don't make the machines, and we have technology transfer. So that's why we have been discussing with these different companies, and now I think we have zeroed on one where they are going to come and help us. And then the manufacturing and the marketing. One, there is need for vaccine. There is need for vaccine. But the two, there is this All Africa initiative for us to produce not only COVID vaccine, but can imagine all the vaccines. Africa consumes 26% of the global vaccine volume. We have only 16% of the global population. And we import 99% of that vaccine. Now, it has been nice and beautiful to think about that in public health terms, that, oh, we have access. What about the economy? How about us, we think about technology development? Vaccine manufacturing is a public health intervention, but it's also an economic intervention. The biggest companies in the world are pharmaceutical companies. So for us to deny ourselves to be participants in that, it is condemning ourselves to poverty. So we are now not just looking at science, technology as a savior, as a humanitarian something, but as an economic approach.
Okay.
For us to be able to address not only our problems, but also to contribute to the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll come back to you, Honorable Minister, to talk about STI in the wake of NDP3, because that's the next driver that we have, NDP3, which is one of our 6 development plans before we get to 2040. I'm actually taking note of the statistics and the figures and the numbers that you're sharing with us here. Nakaziwe, from Preside now, I know that one of the things that you basically and mainly driving is the vaccine bit of it. Or the pathogen, you're driving towards the pathogen economy, which I think is one of the next drivers. But I just want to know whether we as Ugandans actually do appreciate what is happening with you in there, or it doesn't concern us. We maggots waiting. I would like
Not
to think.
anymore.
Okay,
Please.
thank you. Uganda is taking this science agenda to really another level. And really in just months, when we had COVID starting, Uganda's index case got on the index's first case on the 21st of March 2020. And from there, as the teams sat, by September, the teams already constituted and already started to work. What are we saying? We are here, this is our major media house, national media house. If it were a hospital, I would call it referral media house.
National referral. National referral.
Yes. And you have a lot of work to do to to help the population appreciate. You're talking about, do we even know, are we even concerned? We definitely should be concerned. Now, we use what we call the value chain approach.
Okay.
Everyone in the value chain, like we've set it up and are continuing to, is actually a player. Let me give you one. You're talking about vaccines. Yes, it also has its own, or they also have their own value chain. The diagnostics, also their own value chain, but also the the therapeutics, those are drugs, value chain. Let me quickly use maybe the therapeutics value chain. Here, we start the value chain with a herbalist. My jaja down there in the village, your jaja, or the other jaja, 100 years, 120, whichever. But as we look at the economy coming out of what we are able to produce with our natural products, there is a jaja that is starting the value chain. She has, or he has, what we call the indigenous knowledge. Very important.
About this particular herb or something.
About this particular herb.
Some leaves, some roots,
exactly.
something.
And then as she has it there, she will do it locally in a cup and help you take it crudely. We cannot castigate her, but there's a lot that she is actually holding up for us, up to where I'm taking you at the end of the chain. And then we get this technician. They're able to maybe bottle it up a bit, do what, you know. And then as we go on, we get now to the academician. Most of our scientists,
the doctors now. We now come to them.
Yes, the Dr. Ogwangs, Professor Ogwangs of COVIDex and all those others, the Kazires, doing a great job, you know. The academicians are also very important in the value chain. As we move on in the value chain, those are very important, and we are continuing. And we've had them on the buses as we travel with commuter taxis, in our small drug shops, wherever you hear them. You know, wetaga dozi bweti nyo bujiko busatu obuchupa bubiri, cancer jagenda. And they are doing a great job. Now, science, technology, and innovation at the pathogen economy is saying, how can we add value to what is happening? How can the world believe us? How can we ensure safety? How can we ensure efficacy? The call to the public is science, technology, and innovation that the Honorable Minister leads, that I'm also part of, on the arm of the pathogen economy, Preside. We now come in with the science and say we are taking this through a clinical trial or clinical trials. And then we shall come out with our results, whether positive or negative, we shall let the world know. When they are positive, we shall actually now get to Ministry of Health and say, here is our drug, tested, proven, safe, efficacious. This is the dosage. We are ready. And then we also get to the market, and that's where the economy is. So from indigenous knowledge down there, the academician has to go back to the herbalist and say, okay, why is this like this? Your claim is that it helps with cancer. Then for us, we go and test what active compounds are there that are related to healing of cancer, of COVID, of maybe diabetes and all those diseases. So we are working with consortia of scientists from different universities, from different communities. They even have, the herbalists even have the higher, maybe the technicians in the herbal world have an association, and we are closely working with them.
Okay.
We've been telling you about UAE coming around to support us. Actually, this very month, we are having the World Health Organization coming not just as a big brother, but to actually learn from us.
To learn from us.
To walk the journey with us. How are you doing it? Many times the media is only talking the vaccines, and it's very important, but we are actually also working on COVID drugs. We are getting into cancers, the NCDs, the non-communicable diseases that are hitting so hard. We have looming epidemics.
Is that why we also find NACRI now?
Exactly. We are working with them. They actually ran the first ever clinical trial of natural products, and soon we shall be telling the world. So back to the public, the media kindly help us. We have the potential, we are working, we have the scientists, and be a part of this.
And actually, this is what I want to hear from you, Brenda.
Yes.
Why wouldn't we be leveraging on all this? Because, for example, a few days ago, I'll come back to Dr. Msenero here. We were talking about Dr. Msenero, and all the vibrant conversation was about Msenero's mice, Msenero's Msenero's, you know, and that's where we were, castigating and doing all the things, and the next thing is, you know, the president said Msenero is a good soldier, she's a decorated, you know, she can't be touched. And actually, we lose it. What do you think needs to be done for us to at least embrace, to become Uganda or Ugandans and say, okay, I may not agree with Dr. Msenero in her religion, her faith, her political party, name it. But for this particular thing, it's good for us. This is Uganda. Let me forget about all the other things and support this thing. Then I will disagree with Dr. Msenero on another platform where we would not agree, but on this particular one, what do you think needs to be done by us, all of us together as Ugandans?
Okay, there are many stakeholders in this, and really they are countless, they are in. But each one of us has to take their stand. One, as we are talking science, technology, and innovation, we are calling on all scientists to actually join in. We are able to do this. We've long been on just the end of publish or perish, you know, just publishing papers, working on projects, and yet we actually have the potential to do this. And then to the general public, that, like we had said earlier, we need to believe in ourselves. That's why we are taking everything scientifically, because we want to let the world know that indeed everything we are doing is safe. The way the Western world has done it, and you can trust that paracetamol, and you can trust the other vaccine, the polio vaccine.
Exactly.
If I do a quick scan here, none of us here has polio. But thankfully, my parent and yours, my guardian, my benefactor, was able to take you to get vaccinated, you see. So, if we have been able to trust those other products coming from out and very good public health, you know, tools, let's trust our very own. That's why we are taking the trouble to go through all the science and package and bring for you. If we are talking about now going wider, looking at what the ministry is doing, or what STIOP, Science, Technology and Innovation, Office of the President, everything is going through research and development. Then we go into the good manufacturing practices, and then we are going into the testing, clinical trials, field trials, and then so we are going through all the science, whether it's for mobility, that is transport, whether it's for the pathogen economy that we've talked about a lot here this morning, whether it's for industry 4.0, that is digital, whether it is for space and aeronautic space science, we are coming and we are looking at productivity acceleration, export promotion, and import substitution. So this is where we are headed. We are all part of it. The value chain approach is to show you that if you're not a consumer at the end of a product that has been scientifically proven safe and effective or efficacious, you are a scientist. If you're not a scientist, in the value chain, if we are talking about a bus, you can produce, you can work, you can produce the leather. If you're not, maybe you're a teacher of science, and your work is to actually encourage the students, the girl child. On the 11th, just here on Friday, we're celebrating the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. And there is a lot of castigation right from the home environment. The girls, if I have a few shillings, the boy child will be given priority over the girl. In the schools, the boys are belonging to the cleverer streams than the girls. Then you go to the schools, you see the same thing. At the institutions, we even have the affirmative action. I know it still exists, I think, you know. But you see, all strategies should be put in place to develop science. The institutions, what can we do to get just from publication, but to products? Finalizing on this, when we're starting out in the advent of COVID, as the Honorable Minister here then was the senior presidential advisor on epidemics. She put together teams of vaccine scientists, of therapeutic scientists, and of diagnostic scientists. But for one of the groups, she asked, do you think we are able to develop a vaccine? Now, these are academicians, these are people that have been in the trade, in the field, in the vocation for quite a time. But do you know? I'll say it softly. You know? It wasn't an outright yes. But as she went on to lead the team, we are. 4 candidate vaccines. Now they stand strong and bold.
Very good. You talk about, thank you very much. You talk about those candidate vaccines. Dr. Msenero, we are now running with our NDP3. And when you look at our NDP3, a whole chapter there, which I think is about chapter 17, it talks about innovation, technology development and transfer, a whole thing in there. Now, you talked about the pathogen economy, and of course we know that now innovation technology is what is driving us for the future. We're talking about agri-economy, we're talking about the mobility economy, we're talking about all these things. And we just want to know how science, technology, and innovation should be leveraged on by ourselves to actually get to where we want to get.
Thank you very much. Actually, I'm a student of Vision 2040. Before that book was before it was published, I followed it up. I followed as it was being developed. Now, the way we envision ourselves and the way we try to map and follow those our predecessors who have been able to take off. We have mapped in such a way that without science, technology, and innovation, we are not going to leave the ground. Let me illustrate it this way. When you're going somewhere, however fast you drive, in Uganda, or let's say you are leaving your village and you are going to New York, however fast you drive, you will not get there. You have to reach the airport, get out of your car,
then do what they do at the airport.
Do what is done at the airport.
Exactly.
However fast an aeroplane taxis on the ground, it will never get to its destination. It has to take off.
And follow the procedure.
Now, the way Vision 2040 and the way the NDPs are planned, the expectation is that science, technology, and innovation is going to come in and lift. We can accelerate on the ground, but
with
for us to take off,
yes.
Yeah, without a properly structured and well-implemented science, technology, and innovation program in the country, we can just taxi. You know what happens if an airplane just taxis and doesn't take off?
Of course, it doesn't go anywhere.
It will crash.
Yeah. So its destination is actually to take off,
so
not to tax
for
forever.
all the others to go and operate at another level, we need a well-organized, well-structured, well-implemented, well understood, because not everybody being around you think that we are science, technology, and innovation. You really understand what you're doing. So we needed to have all these things well organized through the country. Luckily enough, since I was appointed minister, have done quite a lot of organizing. I've done a lot of reorganizing and working under the direction of the president. We have a lot in the country already. So we are already taxiing. What we need is now that uplift, that so that we can take off as a nation. This is not only in the pathogen economy, it's not only in specific areas, but in all the other sectors. Education is doing, but when we bring in STI into education, it's going to start to fly at a different level. Agriculture, they are working very well, but without STI coming in, they will continue taxing instead of taking off. So on our journey to the middle income and first world, which we are really prepared for, we have a lot of infrastructure in the country. What we need now is, and what I need from the public, is support. If I'm given the support, believe me, you may have heard about me from...
And be specific, the support that you need from us. How do you want us to support you?
I need trust. That is one.
Sure.
Two, I need give me a benefit of doubt. Many people came in with the politics, trying, because they were fighting for their own stomachs. They are not fighting for the nation. And so they came and said,
no, we got to a point and thought maybe they're fighting for, you know, they're those that we call the pharma wars, the pharmaceutical wars. And we possibly thought maybe...
No, they can be used. They can be used to sabotage our nation. But if you look at the people who came out fighting, these were people fighting for their selfish needs. They were people who are formerly in the ministry, so they are fighting for salary, they are fighting for a right to control this budget and this budget. But let us look beyond that. Let us look at a nation. This is our nation. The nation has a destination. So what I need from the public, one, is support.
Sure.
Believe me and give me a chance. You are all shouting here, everybody is judging. Musenero was here. I was in Sierra Leone, you are also proud of me.
In Freetown.
I fought for people that I don't know, even many times without anybody paying me. I have fought Ebola in Uganda, I have fought diseases. I was here, part of the National Task Force, through you are all proud of me. How did I suddenly become so bad? Please, I want the public to judge me for me, not because of selfish people who have selfish interests, who want to deny the nation of the beauty of science. I'm a well-trained scientist, I have a good heart, and I have a capable mind and leadership skills to guide the country.
These ones were actually, you know, the politics of it is we let the people who I think do not know to speak for you.
Yeah.
For example, when you hear about a rat that will feel enraged to say a message in and some ladies buying a rat for 8 million shillings. Why don't you come and buy from us? Why didn't you buy from us and bought a rat expensively somewhere?
We are talking science, technology, and innovation. And this is what Brenda was talking about. Because mostly in Uganda, we were not doing science for development. People were doing some science somewhere. Our scientists, they do their research, they write papers. Nobody in Uganda reads their paper, maybe a fellow academician.
Peer reviews.
For peer review, they are promoted in their university, or they can write another grant. But now when you begin to make science for development, and people have to know, because they are part of the development, then that information needs to come out. Now, of course, we had planned to bring out this information in a systematic way to communicate to people. Now that we had reached a point where we know, yes, we can make our vaccines, yes, now this is the next step. So we had started. You had the president talking about the 8 steps.
The 8 stages, yes.
Yeah, had the 8 stages. So that was the beginning. However, the individuals who don't want...
Who don't want for Uganda? Who don't love Uganda?
No,
maybe?
they are selfish.
Okay.
They are selfish. They are think only about
because I think this is classified information that you just don't put out in the public for computers to pick it from you.
Like that, because you'll have sold everything. In science, we sell, what we market is intellectual property. So before your intellectual property matures and you register it, you don't go talking about it. However, for the people who were to get this information, the information was available. I want to tell you that since we started working on the vaccines, We provided reports to the president every 2 weeks, every 2 months, and he calls us and talks to us. We provided reports to the Science STI Committee of Parliament. We provided a report to the Speaker of Parliament. We provided a report to the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. We provided a report to State House. So the people who are supposed to know the details, they had these details.
They knew.
They knew. Now, science, technology and innovation, it is like you are saying, why do you get in an aeroplane? Why don't you just walk?
To New York?
Yeah, because you said that you can get that kind of rat. I'm just using that to illustrate.
Sure.
It operates in a different. The mouse we talk about, that rat, it takes years to construct. It takes
it's humanized.
A lot of science. Yeah. Actually, that rat, its body is like a human being.
It's humanized, yes.
So, and it is only in this respect that it can allow COVID virus to grow in it the way it grows in a human being. So when we have, you have to get it. You have to get it with a license. And this is what we are going to be doing once our science is maturing in Uganda. Where do you employ all these young scientists? Why do our scientists, children who study science, why don't they have jobs? Because we have not created this. Imagine you create a facility where you are working on mice. You know you can create a mouse that allows malaria to grow in it. And the world, they are doing research on malaria. You can create one which allows HIV to grow in it. You can create one which allows COVID to grow in it. These are called transgenic, transgenic mice. By the way, when we keep them in a special environment called pathogen free. They don't have germs there. Where we have constructed.
So they are not everywhere in everybody's house.
If it gets out, it will die. It will die of COVID.
Honorable Minister, time is running out. Let me just hear a comment from Brenda before you say your final take, and we get out of studios. Brenda, finally, in a statement or two about science, technology and innovations as we plan to get out of studios.
Thank you so much. Science, technology and innovation is indeed the way to go. All the big economies you have had have not done things just in a way that has no proof. This guy of Toyota who will take you through all the science, and you'll see that each part there was very carefully taken, put together to have that car that you can trust, to have that aircraft that you can trust to move. The oil industry, the pharmaceutical industry, really name it. Go and find out. There is science, research and development very, very well woven together. The country, of course, is and has been doing science and technology, and we cannot refute that. But we had, for especially some of those areas we have put out, you realize that most of our ministries are for service delivery, which is also very, very important. But science, technology and innovation is a mandate that we now have as well in the new structure that is being worked on. And we are looking at product development, put on the market, do export promotion, import substitution, and of course accelerate. And earlier you talked about NDP3, where the goal, the main goal is to reach the person at the grassroots. Household income improvement. And that's what we are out to do in the value chain. Thank you, Uganda.
Thank you, Brenda Nakaziwe, a programs coordinator from Preside. Thank you very much. Finally, Honorable Minister, in just less than 1 minute, your final statement.
Yes, my final statement. First of all, I want to thank His Excellency the President for entrusting me first with being a presidential advisor at that time to start the work that is being done by Preside. And now, as Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, I want to assure the Ugandans, I want to assure you that I'm here to serve you, and what we are doing is good for the nation. I want to address myself especially to the young people. The future, your future in this nation is vested in science, technology and innovation. When we stabilize and we begin to work together on science, technology and innovation, you will have the jobs that you are looking for. We need to come together. Science is done by the people. Ideas come from the people. They are the ones who develop these ideas. We are there just to give you the support, to give you the ecosystem, which brings you to where you want to be.
Okay.
So let us work together and let us take our nation forward. Uganda is at takeoff. We are taking off. Middle income, here we come.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Honorable Minister. And I think what I take from you is your statements that you just echoed in here. Trust me, support me. I am the Musenero who saved lives in Sierra Leone.
Absolutely.
And I think to me that's it really came from your heart.
Yes.
You are the same Musenero. So
the
Musenero who was in Sierra Leone, the Musenero who was the presidential advisor, the Musenero who helped us actually through the COVID pandemic is still the Musenero who is again now sparring and helping us to get the vaccines here. I want to thank you so much, Doctor, and I pray that next time we'll have an opportunity to return here. For God and my country, we leave it here for today. My name is Jagana Semakola Ziksoka. Blessings, bye, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.